Alright, lesson 9.5 is on completing the square. Completing the square is another way in which we can solve quadratic equations. So in the previous section, we solved quadratic equations by factoring. Another way to do it is this way, completing the square. Alright, individual warm-up. We're going to factor each of these quadratics. So remember to do that. We want to find factors of a times c that sum to b. So let's begin by writing down our a, our b, and our c. So our a is 1, our b is 8, our c is 16. And we want factors of a times c. So factors of 16 that sum to 8. Alright, so factors of 16, 1 and 16, 2 and 8, 4 and 4. So which ones are going to add the 8? It's that pair right there. Alright, now remember what we do next is we write the 4 over our a, which is 1, and we write the other one 4 over 1. And now we can write it in factored form. So we're going to have that 1, pair it with an x, and then write that number plus 4, and then do the same thing for the other one. Take this number, pair it with an x, add 4. Okay, so you're left with x plus 4 times x plus 4. And we can rewrite that a little cleaner as x plus 4 squared. Okay. Next one. Write down your a, your b, and your c. So your a is 1, your b is negative 4, and your c is positive 4. So we want factors of a times c, so factors of 4 that sum to negative 4. Alright, factors of 4, 1 and 4, and 2 and 2. Now, which pair will sum to negative 4? Well, none of them as is right now. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to make both of them negative. So if I make the 2 negative and this 2 negative, notice when you multiply them together you're going to get positive 4, but when you add them together you get negative 4. So here's our combination. We're going to write each of those over our a, which is 1. And then go ahead and put in standard form. So we're going to take that 1, pair it with an x, minus 2. Take that 1, pair it with an x. Alright, and then we can rewrite this one as well as x minus 2 squared. Alright, so what you'll notice with both of these is that the factors are this. We have 2 of the same factors, and that result is a product of having a perfect square trinomial, and we're going to get to that's what really completing the square is, creating a perfect square trinomial that can factor in this way. So it's not a coincidence that these are working out the way they are. Alright, for number 3 now, I want you to pause it, work it on your own, and once you've finished, hit resume and check your answer. Alright, and here's the answer to number 3, x plus 5 squared. Alright, up next, This class form is important because it's a skill that you need to know how to do when completing the square. Alright, so it says find the value of c that completes the perfect square trinomial using the fact that c equals b divided by 2 squared. Alright, so we want to find what this c is to create a perfect square trinomial. In order to do that, we're going to say that c equals b over 2 squared. So what's our b? Our b is 6. So 6 over 2 squared. So 6 over 2 is 3. Square that and we get 9. So our c is equal to 9. So the perfect square trinomial is x squared plus 6x plus 9. Alright, next one. We have x squared minus 12x plus c. To find c, we're going to set that equal to b over 2, and then we're going to square it. So in this case, our b is negative 12. Divide that by 2 and square it. So negative 12 divided by 2 gives us a negative 6 squared. That's a positive 36. So our resulting perfect square trinomial will be x squared minus 12x plus 36. Okay. Alright, so I want you guys to do now number 6 on your own. Go ahead and hit pause now. Once you've finished, hit resume and check your answer. Alright, so you should get x squared plus 2x plus 1 for number 6. Okay, next part. This is really the lesson's all about here. We can use completing the square to write quadratic functions from standard form to vertex form. And like I said earlier, completing the square can also be used to solve quadratic equations. So problems 1 through 4 focuses on this part, going from standard to vertex. And then the rest of the problems will focus on solving. All right? And that will be a separate video. The solving quadratic equations will be a separate, there'll be another video. So we're going to focus primarily today on these next 4 here. Alright, so rewrite each function in vertex form, then state the y-intercept in the vertex. All right, and we have over here the steps that we're going to follow. So the first step is to add or subtract the constant to get it on the same side of the equation as your y. So we're going to subtract 5 from both sides. So we're going to have y minus 5 equals x squared plus 6x. First step is complete. Alright, the next thing that we're going to do is find the value that will make the right side of the equation a perfect square trinomial. Add this value to both sides of the equation. So this is that part we just got done doing, finding our c. So our c is equal to b over 2 squared. So our b is that right there, it's 6. So 6 divided by 2 squared. So our c is equal to 3 squared. So c equals 9. and we're going to add that to both sides of this equation. So I'm going to have y minus 5 plus 9 equals x squared plus 6x plus 9. So I've added 9 to both sides of the equation. Don't forget to add it to both sides. That's super important. Alright, so step 2 is in the books. Step 3, factor the perfect square trinomial into the square of a binomial. Simplify the other side of the equation. Okay, so we have y, and then we have a negative 5 plus 9. That's going to be a positive 4. And then that's going to equal, alright, so this is what we have to put into this. So we have to write this perfect square trinomial as the square of the binomial. So here's the shortcut. You're going to make a parenthesis. You're going to put an x inside that parenthesis, and then whatever your b over 2 is, all right, before you square it. So whatever your b over 2 is, so it's 3. You write that there. All right, so that's the shortcut. Otherwise, what you would have to do is what you did in problems 1 through 3. You know, you'd have to find factors, you know, of a times c, that's sum to b. You have to go through all that. So this is a shortcut. So just write your parentheses, your x, and then whatever your b over 2 is. Alright, so that is finished. And then the last part, add or subtract to get y alone. Not sure why the y wasn't shown up in these rules, but we're going to subtract 4 from both sides. So we have y equals x plus 3 squared minus 4. Alright, you guys should recognize that as vertex form. So we went from standard to vertex. Why is vertex nice? Because you can identify quickly what the vertex is. So the vertex, the x coordinate of the vertex is going to be the opposite of what you see there. So it's going to be negative 3. And the y coordinate of the vertex is going to be exactly what you see there, negative 4. So there's one answer. And then, so that was that. The y-intercept, well, that is going to be what your c is. So your y-intercept, where this graph will cross the y-axis, at 0, 5. Alright, so that's the first one. We're going to do another one. So let me erase this. Alright, let's go to number 2. Following the same rules. So we're going to add or subtract the constant to get it on the same side of the equation as our y. So we have y plus 3 equals x squared minus 2x. Now find the value that will make the right side of the equation a perfect square trinomial. Add this value to both sides of the equation. Alright, so this is where we need to find our c. So we got to take b, divide it by 2, and square it. So our b is negative 2. Negative 2 over 2 is negative 1 squared. Whenever you square a negative, it's always going to be a positive. So our c equals 1. So I have to add 1 to both sides of this equation. So we have y plus 3 plus 1 equals x squared minus 2x plus 1. Second step is finished. Alright, now we want to factor the perfect square trinomial into the square of a binomial and then simplify the other side. So simplifying the other side first gives us y plus 4. And then over here, remember our shortcut so we don't have to go through the whole factoring process. Write your parenthesis, your x, and then what is your b over 2? Just your b over 2 before you square it. It's -1, so you'd write that in, squared. Now subtract 4 from both sides. So that step 3 was finished. Now we add or subtract to get y alone. So we have y equals x minus 1 squared minus 4. So we went from standard to vertex. Again, vertex is important because you can quickly identify what the vertex is. So the x corner of the vertex is the opposite of what you see there. The y corner of the vertex is exactly what you see there. Alright, so there's the vertex, 1, -4, and then the y-intercept. It's your c here. So it's 0, -3. Alright. So what I want you to do right now is I want you to try number 3 on your own. So go ahead and hit pause, try number 3 on your own, and then come back and check your answer. Alright, so there's the answer for 3. Vertex form. Then your vertex is -4, -7. Your y-intercept is 0, 9. Alright. We'll see you guys in class tomorrow.